This glorious being who grew up knowing life as a play, as a celebration, went through an azure life of a brahmachari with great intensity. These 6 years of being there, along with a few more disciples of this traveling school of Sandipani, Uddhava, his cousin, brother and his very dear friend, Balarama, his brother, who struggled with his brahmacharya. Balarama just wanted to eat well. When he feels like shouting, he wants to shout, he wants to get angry, he wants to hit somebody once in a way. Balarama was always looking for a fight. He's a big man. And if he does not have a fight at least once a week, he loses appetite for life, not for food. To keep up his zest, he needs a fight. So here is a brahmachari with a shaven hair, he's not supposed to fight with anybody, shout at anybody, abuse anybody, nothing is allowed, he has to just beg his food, and whatever comes he has to eat, and he has to chant and recite and discuss many things which are all beyond his… It's not him. But this education he has to go through, and he is always there wherever Krishna is. So Krishna saw his struggle and very graciously reached out to him. He knew Balarama's pride. If he reaches out to him openly, his pride would be too hurt. He wouldn't like to acknowledge that intellectually he is far below Krishna. He wouldn't like that. So Krishna used many methods to make sure that Balarama also learnt. He always pretended as if he has forgotten something, and he would ask Balarama to correct him and somehow help him to remember and learn what he has to learn from the Guru. Balarama knew that Krishna is going out of his way to make him comfortable and not be offended by help, at the same time helping him constantly. But he also maintained the drama and went on. When two people have very close and dear relationships, they can do a certain drama without ugliness to it. Yes, they can do the act well, you know. So, this went on, and 6 years, Sandipani was so tremendously impressed with Krishna's discipleship. This boy who has been prophesied as God himself, the way he gave himself to the Guru and the way he served him and the way he was eager to learn everything that could be taught. Sandipani taught them the Vedas, the Upanishads, the various arts and crafts, above all, the ways of using the arms and also making the arms, which was an important part, that you make your own weapons of certain effectiveness. It is here he learned to make the discus. Sandipani taught him the art of making a discus that you can throw it will do its job and come back to you. Today you've heard of the boomerangs. So, they made the discus in such a way that if they throw it, it will go, take care of the target and come back. So Krishna attained such a mastery. Sandipani's nephew, Svetaketu, was a great expert in this. But Krishna took this discus to a new dimension altogether. Never before another person had used a discus with a devastating impact that Krishna started using this particular weapon. Towards the end of these 6 years, one day they are on the coast in a place called Brigu. Today it's known as Brosh. And he found Sandipani walking on the beach in a very distressed condition, his guru. So Krishna slowly approached his guru and he asked, "Master, what is distressing you like this?" Sandipani looked at him and said, "This is not a time for you to come to me. I need to be alone." And there was a tear in his eye. Krishna said, "No, Master, you must tell me, what is disturbing you like this? What is causing this pain to you? I see in the last 3 days, you have neither slept nor eaten properly. You are just looking across the ocean and there is pain in you." Then Sandipani opened up and he said, "A few years ago, when I came to this place, my son, whose name was Punardatta, who was just a year older than you at that time, he was kidnapped by a certain tribe called Punarjana tribe, Punyajana tribe. The leader of this tribe was called Panchajana. This was a pirate tribe. The Punarjanas owned ships and they moved here and there. Their way was plunder and stealing and even dealing with human cargo. If they found a man or a woman attractive enough, they picked them up and sold them in another part of the world, somewhere else. So they had taken Sandipani's son and disappeared. Sandipani had no means to follow them because you don't know where this pirate goes. You don't know his ways. These are land people, they don't know the sea. So, he said, "I've never been able to forget that day. What I'm saying, probably you do not understand, you're a young man. Only probably when you have a son and you miss him, you will know." So he poured out his heart to him. So Krishna said, "Master, as my gurudakshina for you, as my tribute to the Guru, I would like to restore your son to you. Please release me from brahmacharya for a year. I will see what I can do." Sandipani said, "What can you do? He's gone across the oceans. We don't know where. We know life only till the coast. What's beyond, we do not know. And he's out and out evil. I don't want you to take such a risky endeavor for my sake." Krishna said, "Please allow me 1 year's break from this brahmacharya. I will make my best effort. This is a gurudakshina that I want to offer to you." Then Sandipani said, "If something happens to you in this endeavor, how am I going to explain this to Vasudeva and Devaki, your parents? What will I tell them? I cannot allow this." So Krishna said, "There is no problem about that. They know I am the deliverer, I am the savior of dharma. You can just tell them to establish dharma, to bring justice, I have gone. They will be fine with it. Sandipani gave in because the boy was so convincing, and even if he can cling to a straw to get back his son, he is willing to do that. So he gave him the permission. And within a month's time, Panchajanya was to come with his ship to this particular port for his trading. He's constantly… the pirate is moving, he steals from there and sells here, he steals from here and sells there. He only sells his goods, he never buys his goods. It's a kind of trading, He's a businessman, he sells, but he doesn't buy. So, this Punarjana tribe, the leader of this Punarjana tribe, Panchajanya, arrived with his ship, anchored it away, and with his boat he came and he started making his deals. All the precious stones and gems and rare herbs and people, variety of people, the kind of people that this land would not have seen. He brings one colored people from there to here and sells them here. He catches hold of some people here and takes them and sells them as exotic breed somewhere else. So, all his trading is going on. He camped in this place for a month. Krishna patiently waited, learning all his ways, how he deals with things, following him and being around wherever he is. And then they saw he made his final deals, and with his little boat he is going back to his ship. Krishna and Uddhava swam to the ship. So the ship was waiting for the right kind of winds to sail away. These people got onto the ship and they hid themselves in the ship, but within no time they were discovered. Bikru, the old captain of the ship, the navigator of the ship, discovered them and he asked them, "Who are you? For what purpose are you here?" Krishna put on his disarming smile. He's armed only with his smile, he doesn't carry any arms with him. He put on his disarming smile and said, "We have come here because our brother Punardatta was taken away by you. Wherever you took him, take us also and leave us there in that land. We can't be away from our brother, we want to find our brother." Bikru was very amused by this, but he thought, these are just a couple of local thieves who have come to take something from the ship and go. He said, "You come and sit here in front of me, you should not move." He wanted to make sure that the ship moves into the deeper ocean and see what these boys will do. He thought as it sails, they will get desperate and jump off the ship. So he was very amused and he was watching them and he wanted to see when they will leap off the ship and try to swim back to the land. But the boys just sat there happily looking at him and chatting with him, making inquiries about navigation, where they go, where they come, making small talk. And Krishna asked, "Would you teach me navigation? I would like to learn how to navigate a ship." All this was very amusing for Bikru, who's been navigating this crime ship for a long time. He's never seen anybody sitting there on the deck and smiling at him and making conversation with him. Such a thing has never happened in this place. It's always rob and kill and murder and, that's been his life. This was very amusing, these two young boys making happy conversation with him. And then he thought, there must be something much more diabolical in these boys that he cannot understand, and better not take any risk. So he asked someone to bring a piece of rope and tied up their hands and legs and just put them there in front of him. He didn't want them to get out of his vision for a moment. So lying down there with hands and legs bound, Krishna continued to make enquiries about navigation, what are the stars with which he guides the ship, and he wants to know navigation. But if your hands are bound, you can still learn, You don't need hands to listen, isn't it? Nor do you need legs to listen. They didn't plug their ears. So he continued his conversation. This whole thing was too much for Bhikru. Slowly he started liking the boys. They're so sincere and they just want to know about navigation. This man has been navigating this ship for over 50 years. He said, my father also navigated the same ship. After he died, my uncle navigated this ship and I have been navigating this for 50 years. And for the first time, somebody is showing so much interest in navigation, wanting to know. So, he was a treasury of knowledge about navigation and he got the opportunity to share his knowledge and he went out. Whole night they talked about navigation. By morning they were great friends. But their hands and legs were still tied up. Because the chief of the ship, Panchajanya, is a very hard man. If anything is out of the way from the way he wants it, people will be severely punished or killed. Then he waited for the morning and then reported to Panchajanya that we have 2 boys here. Panchajanya came and looked at them, asked them to be released from their ropes. He sized them up and he thought, oh, this is good cargo. This blue boy can fetch us some real good prize somewhere. And the other fellow also is not so bad. So, he told Bhikru, don't give them any hard work, feed them well, let them just be here. They're good, we'll sell them somewhere. The next port that we are going to will definitely fetch a good price for boys like this. So don't give them any hard work. I don't want them all sunburnt and bruised. I want them the way they are. They're really beautiful. We want them this way, keep them this way. So they were given good food and taken care of. Krishna went about freely in the ship, trying to make friends with everybody. Panchajanya what this? He doesn't like friendship. Friendship is danger. He wants the whole ship to be constantly on alert and in fear of him. When he saw people started talking to Krishna, laughing with him, then he said, this is too much. He said, you come into my cabin and you must sit in this hold, don't go out. Then Krishna sat with Panchajanya and started long conversations with him. Unwittingly, he couldn't help answering the boys' questions and getting involved in conversations and arguments with him. And constantly with Panchajanya, there were 2 of his bodyguards, huge men, real giant of men. Their names were Hukku and Hullu, huge giant of men, always constantly carried cattle whips. Anybody off the way means they were always punished by this whipping. So, they were always there with Panchajanya, and things were going on like this. So Krishna making inquiries about where is the next destination. So Bhikru told Krishna the next destination is Kaustali. Kaustali is what is now called as Dwaraka, which was an island at one time. And there we would like to sell you, our master would like to sell you there, but if you don't fetch a good price there, we will take you to the next port, which is a much longer journey, Vaivastya Pura or Puri. There definitely you will fetch a good price. And that is where we sold Punardatta, Sandipani's son. So Krishna said, that's fine, I would like to be sold there. In the meantime, a certain young carpenter who was working as a crew on the ship happened to sleep off on his job because he was not well. His name was Radhi. Radhi slept off on his job. The report went to Panchajana. He does not take these things kindly. He was dragged and brought on the deck. He wanted to make a demonstration out of this. So he asked Hukku to take the cattle whip and give him 6 lashes. The boy was held down and this man, a giant of a man, using the whip, 6 lashes, left bleeding wounds on the boy's back and he just passed out. Krishna saw this and he just did not like the situation, and the boy was dragged away from there. And in the night, when the night set in, Krishna and Uddhava went there. Krishna took this carpenter boy, Radhi, into his lap and took a cloth where the little quota of drinking water that was given to them, they saved some water. With this water, he cleaned all his wounds and applied some medicine that was available on the ship and sat there with him. Both of them sat there with him till he fell asleep. This was a strange situation on this pirate ship. Never before such a thing had ever occurred, one human being reaching out to another and expressing love and care. Such a thing had never happened on the ship. So all the crew very stealthily came and watched this strange event of one man caring for another. Every man for himself. That's how they've always lived. But these new people, these 2 boys, not caring for what punishment will come to them, which will invariably come. They were nursing this boy, and this young carpenter, Radhi, fell asleep. After he fell asleep, they left. Next day morning, this news just slowly spread around among the crew that something is happening on the ship that has never happened before, that these boys risked punishment for themselves and cleaned his wounds and nursed him and put him to sleep in the night. And another boy of 17, it happened the next day. He happened to steal something, so again he got the same punishment, 12 lashes. His whole back was ripped off. Again that night, Krishna and Uddhava sat up with this boy through the night, cleansed his wounds. Their own drinking water, the small quota that is given, wasting their own drinking water and cleaning these wounds and making him all right. They sat with the boy was in such pain, so they sat with him through the night. Then they realized a huge hulk of a man appeared. Hullu had come. He saw this and he couldn't believe that these young boys dared to sit with this man who's been punished and nursing him. He said, "What are you doing?" Krishna said, "We're just putting him to sleep." He said, "You cannot do such things." Krishna said, "Who says so?" "Our master says so. Panchajana says so. You cannot do such things." Krishna said, "But this is what I do. Somebody is in pain, I reach out. Your master cannot stop this." So Hullu though he's a great hulk of a man, he doesn't have answers for these kind of questions and especially somebody looking at him, smiling and talking. He has no answers for such a face. He's always used to faces, the moment they see him, they're terrorized. Here there's a young boy looking up at him, smiling and talking to him and asking him questions about the fundamentals of his job. He didn't know what to do. He said, "You come with me. Let me take you to the boss. You talk all this with him, it's beyond me." So he took both of them, Krishna and Uddhava, to Panchajana. Panchajana was furious. "What were you doing?" he asked. Krishna said, "We were just helping him to sleep. Is there any problem about that? You don't do such things on my ship." Krishna said, "This is my dharma. Nobody can stop me from doing it. If I see suffering, I reach out. This is my dharma. Nobody can stop me from doing that." Panchajana looked at this boy, "What is this dharma nonsense? Here I am the law on this ship. I say no, no." Krishna said, "That doesn't go with me. Wherever I am, I follow my dharma. My dharma is just this. I reach out to people, no matter what's the law. This is my dharma." Then Panchajana said, "It looks like you need some treatment." But then he looked at the boys. He saw they're such good merchandise. If he whips them and strips off the back of the skin, they may not sell well. So he said, "Hulu, just lock them up in the hold." They had a wooden cage at the bottom of the ship. He said, "Just lock these guys up, give them food, don't let them out. There's no point using the whip on them, we will lose the prize. You don't destroy your own merchandise." So they were taken and locked up in this wooden cage. By now, too many stories about these two boys had spread among the crew, and they didn't know what to make out of these two strange people who are so puny and small compared to them. But they go about doing their own things in their own way. Never before another man had dared to stand up and speak in front of Panchajana and not follow his orders on the ship and surviving to see the next wink of the eye. But somehow these two boys had survived this, so slowly among this illiterate crew, stories started spreading. There is something about them. It looks like they are spirits, they are not real human beings. Especially Huku, who was the whip man, he was brought up in some desert lands with all this spirit business. It really put the fear of evil spirits in him. He sat down and prayed that these evil spirits who have come on the ship should not touch him. And later in the night, Bikru, who was the navigator, came down to the hold and told Krishna, "We are changing direction. We are not going to our original destination. We are going elsewhere which is much further away." Now Krishna got… because he wanted to go to that port, Vaivasthapura, because Punardatta is there. But now Panchajana decided to change course and go somewhere else. So he asked Bikru, "I want to get out of this cage. I will break this and come out." Bikru said, "Don't do such a thing. That will bring death penalty. on this ship. If you break the cage and come out, it will mean death penalty. But Krishna said, by morning, you find some way to open this lock and let me out. If you don't, I'm going to break the cage and come out anyway, death penalty or otherwise. Because if you're going to take me to some other port that I do not know, what will I do there? I want to go to this place. By morning, the carpenter whom he had nursed slipped in, and Krishna had broken out of the cage, and the carpenter fixed the cage as it was. And Krishna and Uddhava just freely walked about on the deck. Panchajana came to know that these two boys are out. So Panchajana asked, who let them out? People said, nobody let them out. So he's broken the cage, that means death penalty. Okay, money or no money, it's enough. Let's put an end to these two fools. Has he broken the cage? Hulu went and inspected and saw the cage was not broken, the cage was intact. The lock was right there as it was, but the boys had just come out. He got totally terrified. These are definitely some evil spirits. In total terror, he went to Panchajana and told him, the boys have not broken the cage. The lock is still intact, but they've just come out. Panchajana also felt a little tremor within himself. What kind of this, cage is not broken and they have just come out. This was with the help of the carpenter, but about 70 years ago, '75 years ago, in the present town that we call as Kunnur. You know Kunnur? Ooty, you know Ooty? It's a hill station. Kunnur is another hill station, little lower altitude. There Sadhguru had his little ashram and still it is intact. The British established a cordite factory. You know what's cordite? Explosives. So it was a high security area. There's a little railway station. Because of all these revolutionaries and freedom fighters, there is a general ban on any Indian walking in that area. But Sadhguru doesn't know such rules and boundaries, he just crosses the railway station and goes because it's a shorter way for him to go. So one day they arrested him because repeatedly he's breaking the rule and put him behind the bars. He just walked through the bars and walked away. They didn't know what to do with him. Never again they again touched him, nor was he interested in cordite factory. He just walked through the bars simply like that. But Krishna used carpenter. He doesn't mind those things. So Panchajana decided that this is spreading a kind of wrong situation among the crew, that the boys need to be punished in front of everybody. And he called the whole crew on the deck and he brought the boys and he told Hulu, whip these boys. Hulu looked at Krishna. Krishna just smiled at him. He got terrified. This is some kind of evil spirit. He came out of the cage without breaking it, and since he came, he's been doing such strange things. He was so terrorized, he could not lift the whip. He came from a simple desert tribe where so much about the evil spirits has gone into him. Terror took over and he could not use his whip. Then Panchajana saw that things are going out of control. He didn't want the situation to look like Huku or Hulu is not following his instructions. So he said, let me do this personally. Give me the whip. Handling a very long cattle whip needs some skill. Everybody can't do it. If you try to use the whip, you'll most probably end up whipping yourself. Unless you know how to handle it, it's like doing fly fishing. If you don't know how to do it, probably you'll pull out your eyeball. You won't catch any fish. Similarly, a cattle whip is something that you must know how to use. So Panchajana is not an expert in using a cattle whip. Krishna, right from the time of his infancy, he's lived among cattle. He knows how to use a cattle whip very well. So Panchajana tried to whip Krishna. It didn't really make proper contact, it just left a red welt on his back. Normally this whip will peel off the skin, but it just left a welt on his back. Krishna just caught hold of the end of the whip, took it away and really gave the whipping of his life to Panchajana. This big man was whipped to such an extent, very little of his epithelial stuff was left. He completely whipped him off his skin and he passed out. Then, with the help of Huku and Hulu, he transported Panchajana to his cabin and nursed him. Peeled off the skin and then nursed him, made him conscious and told him, see, I have no business with you. My business is just that I want to save my brother, my guru's son, whom you sold. I see that you hold no hatred towards my guru or his son. You are just into some business of your own. You are a thief. This is your dharma, you are doing it. I am doing my dharma as a disciple. Just drop me on that coast and you go your way. I don't want to have anything to do with you. But Panchajana is not made that way. He was groaning in pain, but he was burning of the humiliation that he went through in front of his crew, and he knows if he does not do something drastic, nobody is going to take orders from him anymore. He's finished as a captain of the ship. Panchajana had a very fine conch with him, which he always wore around his shoulder. The conch is used as a signal to order and to sail away and these kind of things. Krishna saw this conch. It was a most beautiful conch, perfectly made. And he blew it and saw. It made the most wonderful sound. He's used to conches. Conches were used extensively in India at that time, but this was a very special conch which came out with such a powerful musical tone. Krishna just helped himself with that fine conch of Panchajana and he said, I take this as a gift from Panchajana. I'm going to keep this conch for myself. I take this as a gift from him. And he wore that conch. That conch remained with him for his whole life. And he named this conch as Panchajanya. Panchajanya became the symbol of power and victory throughout Mahabharata. It played a very important role. Then they nursed Panchajana and left him there in his cabin and came up and they once again put the ship back on course to go to the destination that they wanted to go, where a kingdom which was ruled by a woman who was known as the mother goddess. It's a matriarchal tribe where the woman inherited kingdom and she ruled absolutely, and she had tremendous power over people around her. She was an occult person who could see and do things that other people could not understand. So ship started moving in that direction, and in the night, as they were guiding the ship, by now Krishna had acquired the qualities of navigating a ship, the skill of navigating a ship, and he was handling it himself. Then in the night they found a big figure approached them with a short sword. Then they saw Panchajana coming to attack them. He is a very big man. Fighting with him when he has a sword in his hand would be very difficult. Krishna was just looking for a way out. It looked like the only way out was to jump off the ship to save his life. When he was just about to do that, Hullu, who was a slave of Panchajana for all his life, suddenly came up from behind him, picked up Panchajana and threw him overboard into the ocean. And they continued the journey. A skinless man in the salt water. Not a very… So they went on. They approached the island where a very completely different kind of culture existed. So Bhikru had told Krishna about what he knew about this culture. It was completely woman-dominated culture. The queen was revered as the mother goddess, and she used to get into a kind of state where the mother of the universe gets into her and gives her… She says certain things, does certain things. She has a way of knowing things before time. Many stories like this. Then they came near the island and they went up the river that was joining the ocean, and they anchored their ship, and Krishna sent Uddhava with a few gifts to the officers at the port to announce their arrival to the queen so that with her permission they can disembark. In the meantime, the whole situation in the ship had changed. Krishna went through the whole ship. There was any amount of stolen treasure. He classified it and kept it under lock and took charge of it. He released very generous quota of food to all the crew. They ate much better. He even gave them new sets of loincloths because they were all just wearing tattered loincloths for a long time. And all the punishments were taken off. Hullu and Hukku became like the guards of the ship, minus the whips. Situation changed completely on the ship. Now they were all eager to work for him. They never had such a kind master. Now Uddhava went to the island and made his… offered his presence and said, Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, has come. He needs permission to land. And then after some time he came back with a middle-aged woman who looked like she's of some prominence, dressed only with a small golden girdle to cover her nakedness and lots of necklaces and bangles. She came and she boarded the ship and invited Krishna to come and enter their city. So Krishna and a few others got into the one more boat and followed this. Landed, when they landed, the crown prince and the princess and her sister. The crown princess was known as Larika, her sister was Asika, and a fine young man who was the crown prince. On the way, in the little boat, Uddhava warned Krishna, when you go there, you offer your respects only to the woman. She is the one who matters. The crown prince will be there, but he doesn't matter, it is she who matters. So you deal with her properly. So the normal greetings and other things happened. All the women were dressed with just a simple golden girdle around their waist to cover their nakedness, and this princess was an exquisitely built woman, and her sister was more slender and beautiful. He just noticed everything that is around him, and most of the soldiers were women, armed and guarding the place, and there were men soldiers much further behind. He took note of everything because people had told him that those who get off on the island never come back again. So there was a jetty which leads on to a few fishing boats were there, and this jetty was tied to the shore. So he took note of all the arrangements that are there, the security, and got off, paid his respects. And he was taken to the queen. So as he entered the palace and went into the inner parts of the court, a very dignified-looking man came with a short sword by his side, and he was introduced as the king. Then he took them along to the queen. There was just fire burning, and when he went and stood there, suddenly the flames grew in size, taller than a man's height, and from that fire, this queen walked out of this. Before he landed there, Uddhava had already told Krishna, even before you arrived, the queen had divined that you will come here. She knows your name, your details, where you come from, and she knew that on this day you will come. She has the power of our sages. She is able to see the future. She had already told the people that you are coming. So Krishna was little wary dealing with this woman. She came out of the flames and she welcomed them, and they were asked to be taken to their quarters. The younger girl, Asika, immediately got deeply attracted to Krishna and nuzzled up to him. Their language is different. Krishna does not understand their language, nor do they understand the Aryan language that these people are speaking. But the crown prince was translating everything with perfect understanding of both the languages. Krishna saw his mastery of both the languages, and then he announced to the king and the crown prince that I have come here as a representative of my guru, Sandipani. And he watched. Suddenly there was fear on the crown prince's face and he was disturbed. Immediately Krishna knew this is the boy. So he set up his plans to somehow get him out of this place. They took them to the quarters, and this girl just hung on to him, and within 2 days she was in deep love with him. Krishna had a hard time keeping her off because these are known as nagakanyas, serpent women. So all these women just wore a simple golden girdle to cover their nakedness and wore, according to their stature, either ruby or sapphire carved cobra hoods on their heads to indicate their status. and they were of a different nature altogether. They were completely of a different nature. They were bred and brought up in a different way altogether. Mainly from their childhood, they have been taught about the pleasures of the flesh, how a woman should be. So this was a part of enslaving the people who go there, plus they had other tricks for which people had no answers at all. Krishna was very wary of her, he tried to keep her away, but the girl just hung on to him. Then he tried to get Punardatta, his master's son, who has become now the crown prince of this place, aside and told him, "I have come here to take you home. Your father has not spent a single day without thinking about you, he's eating his heart out. You must come back." Punardatta said, "I was living in the comfort that by now my father would have forgotten me. Now you have come and disturbed me. But there is no way I can come back." Krishna asked, "Why?" He said, "No, I cannot come back, because if I make an attempt, I will be dead." Krishna said, "You don't worry about that, you just go with me. I will see that you're taken out of this place." Then Punardatta said, "It is not only that I cannot leave this place, I do not want to leave this place." Krishna asked, "Why?" Then Punardatta said, "You do not know the ways of the nagakanyas, how they enslave a man, in how many ways. There are some that I know, there are some that I just don't understand. All I know is I am so deeply enslaved to this, I cannot go. I have no way of leaving this place. At the same time, I constantly live with the mortal fear of being killed. Because the tradition of this place is, if a new man comes, they will have a festival of choice. Festival of choice means this crown prince has to fight the new man who has come to the island. If he wins, he continues to be the princess's husband and the crown prince. If he dies, the new man will become the husband and the crown prince. So this has been happening continuously. Till now, I have killed 3 men who have come on the island. Poor fellows, they did not know what it is to use a sword. Innocent men, they did not know anything about fighting. Such men I killed. I live with that also. And I always fear somebody may come who is a better fighter than me, and he may put an end to me. This is a threat that I constantly live with. And Mother Goddess, Queen Mother, who is in connection or who's sort of capable of taking the Mother of the universe into herself at certain moments, is very powerful. Just by her thought, she rules us. There is no way I can leave this place." Krishna tried to remind him of his father, of his commitment to his culture and his dharma and his duties to be fulfilled back home. Whatever said, Punardatta wept, but he said, "I cannot come." In the meantime, this girl was in many ways trying to get on to Krishna, she wouldn't leave him for a moment. And then, after a few days, a new mandate was passed. The first mandate was that Krishna should marry the second girl. So he was just seeing how to use the situation to escape with Punardatta. But when the mother saw that Krishna was making efforts to plan and take away people, she passed a new mandate. She said that he will not marry Asika, but he has to marry Larsika, who already has Punardatta as her husband, so he has to fight Punardatta. One of them should die. Then Krishna called Punardatta and said, "See, I cannot fight you. You are my guru's son, I cannot kill you. You are my spiritual brother, I am not going to kill you, nor can you kill me. So this is a time we must break away from this, enough." But there was no way to get Punardatta out of it. He was in a kind of hypnotized state. So the actual event came after this, where Punardatta and Krishna have to fight and one of them have to die. The one who dies is dead, the one who lives has to take this woman as a husband and live there to face the next man who comes later. So Krishna made certain arrangements. He had Hukku and Hullu, the big men who were used to whipping people. He placed them at strategic places. He had Uddhava and a few other men from the ship placed at certain places to cut the jetty and let it float in the ocean when the time came. So initially, Punardatta and Krishna got into the arena. A whole drama was created and the mother, Queen Mother came up and she gave her mandate that the fight should go. The whole town has gathered to see this. They started a sword fight. Punardatta was no match for Krishna, but Krishna just played the game only to the extent necessary to keep the odds even. Not winning, not losing, they just went on doing sparks on the swords, nothing happening, nobody getting hurt. Initially, people enjoyed it thinking it is equally matched. After some time, they saw it is very stale, it's not getting anywhere and it's not going to draw blood. So people started booing and asking for blood. Then Krishna knew that the game is up, you cannot continue the same hitting each other's sword forever. So he hit Punardatta's sword in such a way that it fell off his hand and he also dropped it as if by the shock of it came off, and then they got into Bahu Yuddha or body combat. Again they wrestled and wrestled and wrestled for both of them throwing each other down and up, but nobody getting anywhere. Again the crowd started booing, asking for blood. Then Krishna, as they wrestled, he took them to the edge of the ring and just picked up Punardatta and threw him out of the ring. Hukku and Hullu were waiting there. They just grabbed him and took him, ran to the boat and threw him in the boat. Then the king, the queen's husband, who was the king, was given the position of… he was known as the Lord of the Death. Any execution that needs to happen, that the queen orders, is always conducted by the king as a ritual process. So the queen ordered, execute the man. So the king came with his sword and Krishna picked up his sword, and as if he is sword fighting, as if he's being pushed, he just… as they were fighting, they just slowly went towards the jetty and his men cut the jetty and they were just floating away. At that time, this girl, the younger girl, came running and hugged Krishna. So Krishna decided to take her also, took her into the boat and they started rowing away to the ship. Some of the soldiers, both men and women soldiers, they tried to swim and get to the boat. Whoever came near the boat met their fate and they got onto the ship and they're just about to row the ship and also set the sails going. At that time, the mother got up, just came and stood on the… near where the jetty was, and she just looked there and she said, "Asika, come back." Suddenly this girl, who was all in love with Krishna, just went into a trance-like situation, and she just took a step, jumped overboard and started swimming back to the island. So Uddhava said, "You could have stopped the girl." Krishna said, "You can't take a nagakanya out of her place. She will be completely out of place where we take her. Let her go back to her land." So he caught hold of Punardatta and came back and presented him to his father as the gurudakshina.